Welcome, everyone.
Good morning.
This is Rick with the Rixican Show.
What the heck? I know that.
Take two. Always a surprise. Uh, there's a lot going on. I mentioned this before, but there is like a information overload, shock doctrine. There's so much happening so fast, you just can't keep up with it. Take a deep breath, relax. It's okay. Focus on what you're good at and what you specialize in. With those things that are just you don't, let it pass. Uh, the results will consolidate and summarize, and we'll figure it out tomorrow. It's always a good idea to wait, a couple days before you formulate an opinion. Pause for a moment. Don't react. Everybody's reacting. Um, and we don't look at the bigger picture. It's okay to be aware. It's okay to be informed. It's okay to be uninformed. I mean, there's so much happening. So just take a breath, relax, enjoy the ride, or not. It's your choice. It's your life. It's interesting to me how many people give their energy or power away. Um, I have never met Donald Trump. Not for 1 second do I want to give the guy my power.
Right?
I don't want to be mad at him. I don't want to be, too overly supportive of him. I'm just like, he's another guy doing his thing. And I'm more concerned about, with any public leader, I'm more concerned about the policy than the actual person. But there's so many people that are giving their power away to someone that doesn't even know their name. He doesn't know my name. And it's not just Mr. T that we're talking about. It could be Elon, it could be whatever congressman, it could be, your local mayor, it could be whatever. Like, why are you giving them your power? It's like, it's crazy to me that people do that, but it's just kind of our society's that way. Because there are people that are so frustrated and so angry right now. And I'm like, why are you giving your power away? We have more in common than we are different. We all want the same things. We all want affordable housing, quality food. We want, take care of our families, good health. We all want the same thing. Why are you letting these people divide us? Yeah, you can have a different opinion on, I mean, last night we had a discussion and somehow it led into abortion. You can have a different opinion on it. That's okay. Like, I don't control you or your body. If I believe one way, you can still run off and do the other. It's okay. It's like people have their beliefs about things. It's okay. You know, um, so it's crazy. There's always, going to be different opinions and so forth, but we need to focus on coming together more. And anyway, like I always say, Democrats, Republicans, left, right, independent, we are the peasants. We are the slaves, the taxpayers arguing if we should have macaroni and cheese, or Dad, can I borrow $20? Or, we are the children in the structure. Uh, it's just it's just how it is. So, you know, it's funny when the kids argue and, you know, they say terrible things to each other and abuse each other. That's what we are. We're children. Um, but with that, I think it's good to be informed. It's okay if you don't like what I have to say. I have people that judge and criticize me for all sorts of stuff. If you put yourself out there, you're just that's part of the cost of being out there. There are people that'll be like, he said something offensive. I don't mean to like ruffle people's feathers, but sometimes asking questions and shining flashlights in dark places, there is a cost. There is a cost. Even, you know, even if I'm wrong, I never am. I'm just kidding. It's human nature. We're all wrong. It's hard for us to even determine what is true. We can't even look at the same thing and determine the same result. You got witnesses in court. You look at a person like my mom. I could be like, "Oh, I love my mom, but boy, don't do this." She does. She's this. She's that. But your friends, they're like, "Oh, I love your mom. I want to move in. I wish she was my mom." It's like they see a total different person than what you see. We're all looking at the same thing, but we have different views and opinions of who that person is. It's just that's life. That's life.
All right, we have our guest on with us.
All right. So today we have Eric Thompson with us. How you doing, Eric? Still coming on.
I don't have
We'll still
volume.
work on that.
Okay.
Eric Thompson.
We can't hear you, Eric.
He was a celebrity bodyguard and runs in circles with the people we love and hate in Hollywood. um, does some martial art Hall of Famer, and we discussed doing a
Still nothing.
conspiracy thing, talking about all the conspiracies that we love.
Really quick, Eric, if you want, I can send you a new link. Would that be
And
easy?
then we can put on our tinfoil hats and go
Give
down
me a thumbs up if you want a new link. I can't
the
hear
rabbit
you.
hole. Can you hear me now? If we only had Verizon,
That was Sprint. That was Sprint.
Is it Sprint? Can you hear me now? No, it was Verizon, wasn't
That
it?
was Sprint.
Oh,
Hey, yeah, give me a thumbs up if you want a new link. We still got no volume from you, Eric. Can't hear anything you're saying.
um, so there's some good news until we get Eric figured out. There's this old guy, about 85 years old. I think he's in
Okay,
Philadelphia,
new link coming at you.
and they call it. He went to the neighborhood, and he colored a note for everybody saying February 15th at 4 p.m. till the cops come. He's doing a house party, a winter celebration. It's called Doug's Winter Party. And people have fallen in love with this guy around the world because it reminds them of the days when you used to be able to knock on your neighbor's door and ask him for an egg, ask him for a cup of sugar. It was just the old classic goodness that some of us miss. And it's gone viral. And people from Australia are like, I wish I can go. And people from all over the world are like talking about it. And then you got cops making videos saying, "Where's my invitation?" And they're like, "Wait, what? I'm not invited? And if I go, what happens?" Right? 4 p.m. until the cops come. And you got people thousands of miles away. They're like, I'm going, I'm driving 2,000 miles to get to this party just to hang out, get back to our roots, people coming together. So if you're bored, you can do a little search on Doug's Winter Party. And it's kind of interesting to see how this old man, that somebody filmed coming up to their doorstep, uh, has made it gone viral.
Okay, I see you again, Eric, but I can't hear you. Nothing.
Nothing.
It's something on your end.
Another thing that's happening is the Super Bowl's coming up this Sunday, and Elon
Check
Musk
your microphone settings.
Elon Musk is spending $40 million of his own money on Super Bowl ads.
Still nothing.
And there's people excited about it. And they're like, I wasn't going to watch the Super Bowl. What? What's happening? I'm going to watch it for the commercials. And so I think people are curious uh, what feathers will be ruffled during the Super Bowl with this happening. Hmm. We're still having some technical difficulties with getting Eric on the show.
Nothing.
There's also some lots of fun stuff going on with USAID. Um, they discovered $40 million went to Wuhan labs. This is kind of funny because, like, maybe not funny. I think Fauci said we only invested like 600,000, but now we're seeing that it might be 40 million. So it's just kind of like, huh? How do we hold some of these people accountable for not knowing, and how did the money get there? In the elaborate structure of the money went here to here to here and then came in. Um, so lots of fun stuff going on. Um, there's a huge movement about people not wanting to pay their taxes. Um, they're like, I don't want to pay taxes. They've abused it. They've wasted it. There's people saying taxes, what they've spent it on, is theft. It is stolen. They have stolen years of your life because they've abused taxes. There's a movement out there, people that are just upset. They go, it is stolen. Call it what it is. They want people held accountable. Um, this is a huge shift in, um, like, I've never had a doubt that there was government overreach and misuse and whatever, but it was always like voting didn't fix it. Nothing we did. We've been voting a long time, and nothing seemed to fix it. And so um, it's interesting that something's happening about it now. And so you have people that are excited that it's happening. You also have people that are
Try again now, Eric. Nothing. I sent you an email though.
because of overreach. Like, can they take this too far? Some of you are like, yes, he's already taken it too far. Some of you are like, not far enough. Let's finish this. What happens when it gets to Congress? Like, are they going to start going through them individually? You know, over 60 of them have dual citizenship. So, it's like, we all know there's corruption. And I argue it's on both sides. So it's like crazy, crazy. Um, Another interesting perspective that a lot of people don't tend to think about is, how did Elon find the dirt so fast?
Your voice?
How did he know where to go, where to look so fast? And there's one theory out there, WikiLeaks. 10 years ago, WikiLeaks dumped a whole bunch of information exposing this. And so, is it possible that he's like, I've got the roadmap, it's been here a long time. And so there was a paper trail already left. All he had to do was pick up the scent, from what's already been revealed. And there may be people inside too that'll be like, I know something you don't know.
There we go. You can hear us now, right, Eric? Are you there?
Still haven't.
Hello, Eric.
Um, Man, we live in oh, my ears went out. We live in a crazy time where, like I said, so much is happening so fast, and
There he
it's
is.
complex to navigate. You there, Eric?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry about all that. We had to take a side road to get here.
All right.
All right. How about now? Can you still hear me?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I have AirPod Pro things. They should work.
Yeah, we've had issues with a couple guests before on that, but
Okay.
it's there's something you have to do on your end on your computer. I don't know the answer to that. I'll look and do it myself. So I give somebody
Yeah.
help next time.
Yeah.
But you're with us now.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show.
Okay, perfect.
All right. So so Eric and I did a little work together back in the day, and what little Celebrity Bodyguard, little Hollywood, and he knows lots of dirt that he probably you signed NDAs, right? Can't say too much.
On that stuff, yeah. There's a bunch of other stuff I could say,
Yeah.
just not on those particular things.
So we decided to do a tinfoil hat. I have no idea what topics you've prepared. I was like, uh-oh, what's he going to throw at me? But what's the first thing on your list, Eric?
Oh, well, okay. So, well, it's in line with what you've been talking about for the last couple of weeks. That's why I had texted you. We have to uh, establish a few premises
Okay.
first. There's two major ones. One, and the first one we'll go through emergence. Okay. So I don't know how much you have studied on consciousness or the scientific version of it, not the spiritual version of it. So the going idea of consciousness at the moment between philosophy and science is that the brain, consciousness isn't something that's in the brain. It's something the brain does.
Yeah.
And the brain, from the evolutionary view of it, is what's called a kludge. So a kludge is a group of units that are put together to work as one. So we have a bunch of different parts of the brain. They all do different things, but they all come together and work as one. And out of that emerges consciousness. So the reason I bring that up is a lot of what's going on in the world, it's not necessarily a shadowy backroom cabal. It's an emergence.
Yeah.
Similar to how different part. If you take out if you don't count the Anunnaki and Atlantis and all the other possibilities, it's also the reason why different societies that never contacted each other end up building similar pyramids and using similar rivets and similar stone milling methods and whatnot. It's because when you're working on a specific set of software like the human brain, different people in different places that I've never met are going to come up with similar ideas and similar ways to do things.
So is that like collective consciousness? Like
kind of.
they had that story about the monkeys, and they with the bananas or something, and they taught some monkeys how to wash them off or something because they didn't know how to eat them when the bananas were sandy or something like that. And they taught them, and then immediately afterwards, when they introduced the concept to another island of monkeys, they knew how to wash them off. And they're like, how did that consciousness travel? How did that idea get
It's a
concept.
It's a very similar thing. And the thing is, it could be a collective consciousness. Because, I mean, if we get into the quantum realm and superposition and all that, then that's a whole nother thing. And that could be the case, but also it could be as simple as monkeys are working off the same sort of software all over the world. So they're going to figure out things similarly as their counterparts that they've never met. Okay. So knowing that or that being the kind of the groundwork for what's happening to our poor planet, there's also a theory, philosophy, whatever you want to call it, called accelerationism. And it kind of explains why all these rich people and all these different organizations at the very, very top of the food chain are like, why would they do these things or spend money on these things that seemingly are going to destroy us eventually? Well, when you have billions and billions of dollars and there's nothing left to buy, the only thing left is power. And when you have that much money and there's nothing left to buy and you think that you're brilliant because you've acquired this much wealth and you think you should be in charge of things, there's only a couple ways to do that. There's either get in the system and try to work within the system, or destroy the system and start over where you're the king. So putting those two kind of concepts together, George Soros, the World Economic Forum, all these things that seemingly do things to destroy culture, and you're like, why would they do that? Why would they want to make things worse? Well, it's because in their mind, it's like, well, if I tear it all down and build it all back up again, then I'm going to be in charge. Why would they want to make things worse? And George Soros pretty much said it. In their mind, it's like, well, he said many things. If I tear it all down, actually stop back up if people pay attention. So the point of all that is, and where the emergence comes in, as well as mentioning in the last podcast when I was bringing up the university system.
Yeah.
So after World War II, again, all the road to hell is paved with good intentions. When the intelligence community, we didn't have intelligence, we had military intelligence. There was army intelligence, there was naval intelligence. This is pre World War I, World War II. After World War II is when the OSS became the CIA. The Office of Strategic Services became the CIA. Before that, we just had individual intelligence within the services. They only collected intelligence on military operations and things that they need to know. We learned in World War II that intelligence has a much greater benefit than just keeping it within the realm of military operations. And when they started the CIA, the intention was good. It's to never again have a world war conflict that could almost end everything. But like everything else, when you realize how much power you can generate and gain and influence you can cause and control over the world, then things kind of start to spin out of control. So now introduce the university system. And then stop me at any time. It starts to sound crazy. Okay, so now let's bring in this. We're going to tie together by the time we're done. Okay, so now bring in the university system. The university system at its beginning, and I'm going to circle something else back in that's quite interesting, but the university system, in its beginnings was about learning a trade, learning, to be a doctor, to be a lawyer, philosopher, whatnot, the sciences. At a certain point in the 60s, 70s, there became a radical element to it where some of the philosophies, French philosophies of Foucault and some of his other contemporaries who had a philosophy of what's called postmodernism. Postmodernism is based on the premise that everything is power-based. Everything you do, everything you say, everything is power-based. And in order, if you're not born with power in a monarchy or, born into some type of rich or political environment to where you can garner power, then the only way to grab power for the rest of us is to make nothing true and nothing mean anything. So Foucault and his contemporaries in France started kind of creating this postmodernist belief of there are no necessarily any truth, so therefore nothing really is true, therefore nothing exists technically as far as terms. This is where there is no male, female, there is no this, there is no that. And when you live by that philosophy, and everything is your own lived experience, and nobody else's lived experience matters or exists, then that's how you can start to grab away power from the people that have it, and at least in their mind. And actually, it does seem to work because we're living it now.
Yeah.
So that worked its way into the university system. Now, the university system starts pumping out. Now, obviously, not every university is super liberal. There are some conservative universities, but even in the conservative universities, there's a large liberal contingent. So these ideas start to the system starts pumping out. Now, obviously, not every university is super liberal. Oh, sorry, I got an echo there. I saw you were talking. So they start pumping out leaders, thought leaders, politicians, business leaders who believe these things or believe them enough to think that it's important to society. So these people now are entering the work, and we're talking about since the 60s. So these people are starting to enter the workforce, and not only the workforce, in politics and everywhere else. And they bring with them these ideas of, well, if we push equality, we push this, we push that, and we make things, your other people who have the power, their reality not matter, and we foist our reality on them, and we can start to move the needle and make the planet better. I mean, some people actually think that it will make things better, but some people also are just power grabbing.
So this is like the concept of controlling the narrative.
That's exactly what it is.
Yes.
But here's the thing: there is no narrative. See, when there is no narrative, then you can even control it further than controlling the narrative, and that's the point of postmodernism. That's what I'm saying. It's such a deep circle.
Yeah.
It's just so. But it folds. It eventually, kind of like communism, folds in on itself, which we're also watching happen.
So when they say, this is my understanding, when they say like the meaning and everything's empty and meaningless, by that they're saying once you get to point zero, then you can create a new meaning.
Correct, and that's what I mean.
A lot of times when they say life is meaningless, it's empty, that's only to get to point zero, ground zero, and then from there you can say what we really meant you should look at is over here. This is the meaning of that. So sometimes people get, I think, confused by this like empty and meaningless concept. It's just, to
well, when there is no narrative, you can continuously move the goalposts. But that's also why it folds in on each other, because then they start eating their own, which is kind of what we've been watching the last couple of years. So we have postmodernism in universities. We have now these people have infiltrated intelligence. They've infiltrated business. They've infiltrated politics. Pretty much every walk of our life. Okay.
Yeah, I believe that.
And then knowing that, let me circle back to emergence. When you have everybody that comes kind of from a similar background, similar teaching as far as the colleges, because all the colleges are kind of pushing this narrative. I mean, even in the sciences, which is kind of sad, pushing this narrative, then you don't need a backroom cabal. You don't need one guy in a room with his pinky in his mouth, saying we're gonna ransom the world for $1 billion. You have kind of everybody on the same page who have never met, and they're all grabbing for power from AOC on down. Like they're all in their own way grabbing for power, and they all are working off the same rule book. So you don't need a backroom of guys running things. You have hundreds of backrooms of people that have never spoke, but are still kind of working off the same playbook. And that's why it looks like we're being run by a one world government. But it's not a one world government. It's become a one world playbook.
Yeah. And I was going to say, this is the concept where I say like the whole game is a chessboard. You have your king and queen, and then you have these different branches, right? You got the knight, you got the bishop, and you got, the castle. And then in front of those, there's a pawn. And that's the army that goes and forth and push forwards the bishop's agenda, and another pawn, and that push forwards the money agenda, and this other guy, and that's the, political agenda. So yeah, we are surrounded by all sides, And then on the chessboard, it's masculine, feminine. So then on the other side, you got another bishop, and and then it mirrors each other because you're on the other side of the chessboard. So it's like it's a complex attack, but that's the game that they play. At least that's a way to visualize it in another way. Keep going.
Okay, so yeah, what you just said, but also too, let's picture that and picture it as many chessboards.
Mm.
So we have a chessboard in the European Union. We have a
Oh
chessboard
yeah.
in individual countries in the European Union. We have a chessboard in the United States, obviously. We have a chessboard in South America and in the individual countries in South America. And then on the other side of the chessboard, with a competing ideology, the other side of the chessboard would actually be the Russia, the China, the North Korea. But the sad part is the Russian side is actually not as far from us as we think it is.
Yeah.
They're constantly painted as the evil empire when actually I have friends in Russia. St. Petersburg's like Santa Monica. Like it's
Yeah.
going good over there. Like it's nice. And Putin is a murderous dictator, but he also loves his country and his children.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's an ex-KGB guy that he'll drop some polonium in your tea, when you're not looking. But he also has his country's best interest in mind, which unfortunately we haven't had a leader like that in a long time.
Yeah. So what was explained to me, if I could jump in here for a second, the multiple
Sure.
chessboards. And when you explained it that way, I was like, oh, this is kind of what was explained to me by my supposed, redheaded stepchild of the elite. He was like,
Yeah.
and what was explained to me is every country, every continent has its own matrix. He said the United States is the toughest matrix. We have the strongest illusion and the most brainwashing in the United States with free
Yeah.
speech. And so, so you said each, area, China, Europe, whatever is another chessboard. I'm like, oh, I saw a connection like to what you're saying based off what he had told me. And I was like, this is crazy. Each continent, each country has a slightly different set of rules and is its own experiment. And I was
Exactly.
that was crazy. Anyway, that's just another like visualization or concept that I was explained to me, and I was like, "This is crazy." And I was like, "We're the hardest one." All this stuff, consumerism, keep up with the Joneses. I mean, the illusion, the brainwashing, and we don't want to hear it because we were like, the United States is the best. If you don't like it here, go somewhere else. I mean, that is like the summary of what we are.
Well, we're the hardest because we're the kind of the craziest experiment with the craziest uh, control, like double blind placebo controls in our experiment. Here's the thing: we look at everything through the lens of being American, but we're different because we were started by people who wanted a different life, who were go-getters and didn't want to be controlled. That's us. Pretty much the rest of the world, they like control. The reason why people keep falling into communism and socialism as being a good idea is inherently, from a tribal sense, we're wired to be controlled. It's the few people that break out as leaders that don't want to be controlled. And our country was started by a group of leaders. But most other places in the world, they don't mind the control. And we're like, why do you not want to be free? And we try to put our ideas on them.
Yeah.
They're fine. And obviously, unless they're being killed or prison, but most of the time they want what's called it's in a tribal sense. If you go back to the paleo era, you have what's called a lead man. A lead man in anthropology is basically leader of the tribe. And from a tribal sense, the rest of the tribe is wired to want that lead man to call the shots. And that's how a lot of the rest of the world's wired. We're wired a different way because we started differently. We started with a handful of go-getters who wanted, to build something. And that's why we kind of don't understand when other countries or cultures continue down a road, and we're like, you don't want to be free, and they're like, no, we're good. Like they don't, they're not yearning for what we have, but the few that are yearning for it come here.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
I would argue that we've been infiltrated so hard that a lot of that is probably lost.
It's dwindling, which is sad. You're absolutely
Because we're
right.
like, you have free speech. You don't think we have a class system or a credit score?
Oh,
We do,
oh,
but we act like we don't.
oh. Yeah, we
You know,
no, we definitely do.
we're
But
we're
and that's the
tax
thing is,
savvy. We have a lot of false beliefs, I guess, is what I kind of see.
no, we definitely do. So now let's go back to the intelligence community. Okay, so originally the intelligence community obviously was conservative because it was conservative kind of ideas that won us World War II. So that obviously it's going to start as a conservative institution. Now we're going to go deep. Okay, so
Do I need more tinfoil?
see, you might want to get some Reynolds wraps. So CIA, okay, the Gulf of Tonkin's real. It's been declassified. Operation Northwoods was a false flag. So we know what our government does. It's not a secret anymore. I read a book. Tom O'Neill wrote a book called Chaos, and it's about kind of the Manson connection to CIA and MK Ultra and everything. It's a great book, and I'll try to paraphrase it. So Manson, it's been basically shown that he was an asset of the FBI. He was doing stuff down in Mexico. His connection to CIA is a little more cloudy. However, he has been directly connected to Jolly West through the research that Tom O'Neill did. Jolly West is a psychiatrist who also was part of the MK Ultra program. Jolly West showed up at Jack Ruby's cell either the day or a couple days before he killed himself. Jolly West has also been connected, not as directly, but connected to Sirhan Sirhan. So there's a good possibility that Manson was one of the subjects for MK Ultra. And it's for people who don't know what MK Ultra is, I'm sure you guys do, but MK Ultra is the mind altering, mind control, Manchurian candidate type experiments done by the CIA using
LSD. Yep.
Yes. So why is this important? You guys think about what the whole Manson thing meant. And when you think about this, it's like, oh, actually now I get it. So Manson, the farm, all that was crazy, yeah. But if you look at it from the view of what those killings did, and again, people who don't know, Manson never killed anybody. Manson ran his family, you call it the family, out here in California, and he coerced members of the family, his cult, to go kill Sharon Tate, the LaBiancas. And what O'Neill, found in his research is that it was possibly a CIA psyop in order to shut down the hippie, free love, anti-government movement that was going during the Vietnam era. And it's kind of before our time, but if you look back, it actually served its purpose.
Yeah.
Because when a house full of drugged up hippies killed Roman Polanski's pregnant wife and the LaBiancas in a nice neighborhood, which is supposed to be untouchable, it brought the whole movement to a halt. And America wanted hippies gone. They wanted free love. They wanted the anti-government, all the Jane Fonda. They wanted all that talk shut down because it scared the bejesus out of everybody.
Makes sense.
So, that being said, knowing that and knowing that we run false flags. The Gulf of Tonkin incident never happened. Operation Northwoods was a false flag to get us into the Vietnam War. Knowing that, who knows at this point what's a psyop and what's not? And since now to the university system, the intelligence apparatus has moved to the left, and so now most of the psyops are going to be left leaning and keep getting everybody's attention away from the important stuff, the wars, the constant, war machine, the things that are going on in the world. What better way to do that than to convince everybody that we need to worry more about genders and diversity than what's actually happening in front of us. And like I said, it's been working. So I'm not saying that diversity isn't good. I'm saying that they've used this as a psyop for the most part.
Yeah, it's
divide us and keep us busy.
It's tough for us, I think, to realize how duped we've been. Like I said, like this is the hardest matrix, or we're the most brainwashed. And I think a lot of stuff's going to come out in the open. But I keep thinking, as they poke holes in the illusion that we have now, of course they're going to want to redirect us to a new illusion, a new view.
Yeah.
And what is that?
Well, it's always it's moving the goalpost, and it's always follow this new bouncing ball. It's buy the thing, do the thing, watch the thing, and it's a constant to keep everybody docile. It also keeps everybody docile.
Keeps everyone busy.
It's a laser
it
pen
keeps everybody.
and a cat.
Yep. It keeps them weak, keeps them docile, and so now to circle back to the accelerationism. Because you bring all these things up to people, and they're like, "Yeah, that doesn't make any sense because why would they do all these horrible things? Because it's going to affect them too." Well, no. When you're a billionaire and you have bunkers and chalets in the French Alps that pretty much can't be touched by any type of conflict. I mean, when you have places to go and money to do things, right? What you're willing to do, it goes up exponentially. So and the thing is, there's a left and a right version of acceleration. It's not just a left ideology. So the Soroses of the world, the only problem with George Soros is he's run out of time. He's like 115 years old, and he thought he was going to run the planet, and I think he just run out of time. But there on both sides, there's a version of it. So now
sometimes I think Soros is just a pawn because his name. Like he's out in the open, moving. Where I think somebody that was powerful like him, but no one knew he existed, pulling strings behind the scenes, I would say that would be. I don't know.
I mean, it's possible. The thing with Soros is he told you his plan. It's just nobody was listening. If you read the books and listened to the interviews, he's not shy about it. That's what he says. He's told you everything he wants to do. He basically said that he should be a god. Like he said these words. He's not shy about any of it. And the thing is, a lot of people are not shy about it if you're listening.
Yeah.
The BlackRock, the Vanguard,
Klaus Schwab,
we're going to eat bugs and not own anything, and it's going to be great. Yeah, they're not shy about it, and they all think.
FYI, we just got kicked off of TikTok.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's all right. We're still going though.
Something I said?
Yeah. Who cares?
Yeah, you said something instead of the word unaliving. You said something else. Probably.
Oh boy.
Yeah, well, okay. So you're on TikTok jail again, Rick.
It happens.
Oh boy. Sorry about that.
It is what it is. I'm not. Another day in a life.
We got 44 minutes on there.
Well, there you go. That's actually, I guess that's pretty good. So with the accelerationism, like we were talking about the different people that continue to do things that don't make any sense, and your average person's like, oh yeah, but that's dumb. Why would nobody's going to ruin everything and cause World War III? Why would they do that? Okay, well, the thing is, I know this because I was in the movie business for a long time. I made several movies. I sold movies worldwide, and the okay, so everybody would say, well, how come we don't have more women and people of color and lead roles and this and that? And well, the reason why is because they didn't sell worldwide. When you make a movie, you have to consider the domestic sales with the United States, because I'm in the United States, and the foreign sales. A lot of times the foreign sales will make up for your budget, so the domestic sales will be your profit. If you have no foreign sales, you're taking a chance of losing money. So if you don't have a marketable, bankable lead, or at least some people that are recognizable worldwide, then you're not going to make your money. Okay, so it wasn't racism or anything else. It was money.
Business.
So now all movies are pretty much nothing but people of color, or the leads are women and people of color, whatever it is. Everything's a female cast or whatever. And you're like, yeah, well, okay, so you're wrong. You can make money with no, you can't. Not yet. It'd be great if you could, but these movies lose money worldwide because the rest of the world is not buying into our BS.
Yeah.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
The studios are being funded by the major hedge funds. So they're buying off on the victim passed down from the BlackRocks and Vanguards, because they're investing in everybody's like, well, where's the money coming from? It's coming from them. They're not making money on their projects and films.
Yeah.
That's why all the studios are losing money. And they were fine to lose money because Vanguard and BlackRock and all three were paying the bill.
Yeah.
But eventually,
now.
it is, because eventually you have to make some money. And so that's also why things are changing a bit, because at the end of the day, it's money. You got to make some money.
That's why they're shifting the currency.
I saw a commercial with a few people trying to do a thing in Texas.
Yeah.
They're like, Hollywood's dead, and they were gonna. I don't know. It looked like a movie the way they produced it. But
backing up what Eric has said is that we notice the biggest thing, besides the politics, besides the conspiracies they're talking about, the one thing that a lot of people are talking about is the money system. We see a change coming to that. It's inevitable. And I think it goes along with what you're saying, because there's a change of cycle, a new cycle coming, a new matrix, if you will, new chessboard about to be rolled out. And we've already bankrupted the first game, so we got to start fresh, right?
Or they're in
in
the process. And that's what I always talk about, the globalists and the populists. I was like, Trump's a populist. They've been gaining power, Brexit, a euro, and all that stuff. Little by little, they've infiltrated pretty well. And the globalists are in panic mode right now because he's dismantling them and their money train.
Well, not to bore your audience to death, but we'll talk a brief economic portion. Okay, so economists back in the years of 2030s, Great Depression, they had a lot of arguments amongst each other about why it happened. Nobody wanted to, give an exact reason because they didn't want to be wrong. Because a lot of the none of them predicted it. I think one guy did, and they thought he was crazy. And after all the studies and everything were done, because the thing about economics is math has only been recently introduced to economics. So like, how's that possible? Well, economics over the last 100, 200 years, there's different schools of it. And a lot of the schools were more political and policy-driven economics. And math wasn't really integrated into it. Math is more of a new addition to economics, surprisingly. So when Milton Friedman came along, who's one of the big father of modern economics, came along and kind of he and his people went and interviewed and went to the books of every bank and ran all the numbers. He realized what caused the Great Depression was it was over leveraging money. Banks had a certain amount of money. They would lend, 4 to 10 times the amount of the money that they had, and they'd over leverage. There was a shortage of actual currency. And that's what caused the run on the banks. And that's basically what caused everything to fall apart. Well, Nixon took us off the gold standard. We used to be the dollar used to be backed by gold. Now it's a fiat currency, which is basically you just print it whenever you need it. And at a certain point, too much, not enough. It's a delicate balance. You can have too much currency, and that causes it can cause deflation or hyperinflation. It can cause all sorts of catastrophes, but also not enough causes catastrophe. That's why the Zimbabwe, I forget the name of the currency, but at a certain point, because they just printed money because they thought that's how you did it. It became like at a certain point a wheelbarrow of Zimbabwe currency. A billion Zimbabwe dollars was worth like $1.50. Like it's just how it works. So yeah, to your point, we have printed our way into a corner, and with crypto and kind of other governments trying to adopt their own digital currencies and whatnot. Russia's working on one. China's been working on one. I mean, it's active. It's just not necessarily taking hold yet. It's going to get interesting, but there's currency is a big part of this whole picture as well, because all the power in the world doesn't matter if you don't have a way to disseminate it. And we don't want to go back to seashells. So there's going to have to be a way. And that's back to the accelerationism. Yeah, you tear it all down, build it back up, but you still need some institutions in place, because you can't, unless you blow everything up, which I think some of these people wouldn't mind blowing everything up, honestly. But unless you blow it all up and start really from zero with this, it's a lot harder. I think a lot of these people.
That's what World War I was, or World War II.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I guess conspiracy wise, the idea of going into 5D, I think those in the elite that believe that know they have to restructure or blow it up and start over or do an extreme change so certain processes work in this area that we right now can't even comprehend.
I always tell people that Hollywood movies, most of them tell an insider story that they can't come out and say, but they can put it in a theatrical form, like The Matrix, like Alice in Wonderland, like a lot of those 14th floor. I can name a ton of them that talk about that. You think your world is really this big, or this, and you have so many options, but really you're just a pawn. No matter what you do, at the end of all these movies, they realize, oh, like the Hunger Games, like Maze Runner. I mean, over and over, they're telling that same story, and I don't know why it captivates so many people, but also at the same time, I don't know why some people don't stand back and go, wait, this actually makes sense.
You had me at Groundhog Day.
Exactly.
Eric, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Oh yeah. It's because people get inklings. Like a lot of stories come from conversations or articles, or somebody has worked in a specific field and knows a small part of something. Like, say you're a computer scientist and you work at DARPA as a contractor, and you catch wind of some technology. Oh, I'll give you an example. Actually, I'll give you a really good example. I'm glad you brought that up. And you this is an example, but you finish the thought. You catch wind of a project. You don't know the whole project. You just catch wind of possibly a robot that can phase through solid matter. And you're like, oh, wait, you guys are working on that? And they're like, no, and they shut the door in your face. You're like, no, you didn't see anything. But you got a glimpse of something you thought that you saw. And then from there, you decide to write a book or a script. And that's what I'm saying. A lot of things in movies
They
and
allude to
TV,
some truth. Yeah.
they allude to a tiny bit of truth
Yeah.
that somebody heard or read, but there's a kernel in there. And
Yeah.
that's the thing, is that sometimes the actual truth is weirder and more frightening than the actual story or idea.
Yes.
I'll give you an example. This is personal experience. So when me and my partner, we're the company that developed and produced the movie Twilight. And because of that, it opened a lot of doors, to go meet with different people. One of these doors was we were working on using early large language models. This is before there was any talk of AI. It was just basically text to speech large language models with fan fiction. Basically, going through, and fan fiction is okay. Let me give you a little backstory. So, 50 Shades of Grey is Twilight fan fiction, and what that means is the woman, because we met with her to make the movie, but we didn't get the movie. The woman that wrote it as a different take on Twilight, and it was on the internet. It lived on the internet. And she wrote it in chapters, and then it got popular, and then she made it into a book, and then made it into a movie. But it was Twilight fan fiction, meaning the characters in there are basically the Twilight characters with their names changed and their occupations changed.
Huh.
So there's a whole world of fan fiction out there. And what me and my partner were doing is trying to aggregate it and see if there's a way that we could do what they did with 50 Shades of Grey before they did that with 50 Shades of Grey. Okay? That being said, we got turned on to a USC project that was off-site and off the books. And so we went and met at this off-site office.
You're talking about the Trojans, right? USC. Okay.
University of Southern California. And we met with these professors and scientists, and so we were talking about aggregation, large language model, how we can use it in fan fiction, and it was a great meeting. But then they're like, hey, you want to speak? I don't know. The movie Twilight Zone in the very beginning when they're driving down the road and they're like telling.
Want to see something crazy?
Like,
yeah.
And he's like, hey, you want to see something really scary? Okay. So the guy's like, hey, you want to see something really cool?
Yeah.
We're not supposed to show you, but here, you got something cool. You want to see something really crazy? I'm like, okay. So they take us to this other room where there's a guy in there working on a bunch of computer monitors. And what they were doing was they were taking a large language model and using all the data from the internet that they could consume and using a large language model to predict behavior. So basically what they were telling us is through monitoring conversations on all social media and running them through algorithms and, running them through their large language model, which all this predates all the AI we're seeing now.
This reminds me of that Tom Cruise movie.
Where it came from. Yeah. This is probably where all this open AI and everything started. I wish I could remember the names of the people I met because it's probably the same people that started open AI. But the point is, it's very similar to now, just 15 years ago. Anyway, so we're like, okay, what does that mean? We're like, well, what we're starting to realize is if you analyze enough data and conversations and mannerisms and the way people react to conversations, you can basically predict the future. And we're like, what are you talking about? Like, we're able to predict possible terrorist attacks and events by running algorithms on all of this data that we're getting from social media.
Sounds a
And we're
lot like Minority Report.
Well,
yeah, it is exactly that. But they're using the internet as opposed to psychics and
Yeah.
and
yeah,
deceivers.
yeah. Just by all the emails and words you use. I followed a guy
Everything.
that
Yeah.
he had some web crawler, whatever, out there scouring the internet, and he would have his predictions, and he almost had like percentages, but like, hey, there's a 70% chance there'll be an earthquake in Asia, and this, like all based off
Yep.
millions of people
Chatter.
communicating and picking up a common vibe. Go, huh? This word was used
And
99 times.
and then when we asked them like, well, what does this have to do with fan fiction or whatever? And they're like, oh no, nothing. And like, well, who's talking? Like, we're like, what? Who is this? And they're like, well, we can't say. And we're like, wait, is this the government? And they're like, well, the army may be involved. And so, and this predates like this. When was this? This is like, I feel like it's like 2008, 12, somewhere around there. But this, and yeah, but I actually I have a photo of me there, and because they also had a motion capture thing that they're working on. It's like this big light bubble where you sit in. It's a theater with hundreds of cameras, and you can sit in there, and they motion capture. So I have a picture of me at this project.
Something, if I can interject, I just had this thought, and I just need to be heard. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? So, thinking of language models, and like we just got kicked off of TikTok, like they're blocking certain words over usage, made me think how much of that is done on purpose to control this collective outcome. If you can't say one word, but you can say unaliving, the word alive has a better meaning in the language model than
Yeah. The other.
KI double hockey stick,
Yeah.
right? So, anyways, it's just a thought I had to go. Is there a reason that they're like, hey, your AI on TikTok really needs to block these words and censor it because of language models, or is there something else to it? I just had this like light bulb come
I
on.
got to say, I don't know what it is because I'm going to jinx us, but
Yeah, it could have been George Soros. Maybe he's like, no, you don't say that guy's name because
looks like we lost him. Are you still there?
No, here I'm just listening.
Oh, okay. We don't see you on the screen anymore.
lost your screen. But anyway, that was just a thought I had. How do you think censoring audio? Because I mean, when you're on people talking, now we got to dance around words.
Yeah, we lost your video. Do you need me to send you another link?
Does that change?
Yes, send me. I'm sorry, real quick. Yes, unless can I use the same one? Let me see.
Try to use the same one, see if it'll work.
Yeah, does that change the language model if we're not allowed to use certain words on certain platforms? It was just a thought process I had. Could they control the narrative or future predictions by controlling language, what we can and can't say? Because
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
There's certain things you say and it's racism. There's certain things you say, and so all these things kind of potentially can change that language model. I was like, huh. I'd have to process that, but I was like, maybe there's something more to this that they're like, this is in the future, total apocalypse, annihilation. But if we cancel these words, that end result is no longer there. We've adjusted the future based on language models. Words have meaning, emotion. Anyway, just a thought process I had to go, man, they're canceling it. Maybe there's a reason.
I think it's again, it's the controlling of the language. So if you can control, again, it's the moving goalpost, and it goes back to the postmodernism. If you can control the language, if you can control the goalpost, if nothing means anything, means nothing, means anything, then you can constantly, like at a certain point, unaliving will not be allowed. Like I know this from what some of the podcasts I watch. There's certain people's names, and I don't think Soros is one of them, but there's certain people's names that you've never heard of. But if you say their name almost like a code word, that you'll get kicked off specific social media. Like that, people, it's just a constant. It's it's almost like okay. I don't know if you ever saw the movie Cabin in the Woods.
Yes,
If not, I'll
yes.
give
Oh
you a
yeah.
brief synopsis.
Give the synopsis anyway.
Basically, yeah, basically, horror movies are made to, or horror scenes are made to appease the old gods, and all over the world there's a family of teenagers who are killed in a certain order in order to appease the old gods. Okay, but there's guys in the control room, and the guys in the control room are sending out pheromones to get the teenagers amorous, or to get them to do like, let's split up, let's, things you wouldn't normally do, in order to make the narrative move forward. They're in there moving levers to constantly change the narrative, to keep the show going. And like it used, and now I don't want to claim everything some nefarious plan, but as far as YouTube and social media and things of that nature, I do think maybe in the beginning they are trying to protect kids from hearing, uh, you know, the word for self-ending or things of that nature, because there are, kids out there with problems and whatnot. But also, when you keep moving the dials and changing the goalposts of what you can say, now you are trying to control and manipulate. You are trying to move the narrative in different directions to keep everybody from. If you don't know the narrative, then you can never have any control. It's
Yeah.
just like you're in a conversation. It's like you're in a you're in a conversation with your significant other, whoever that might be, and their answer to everything is yeah, but still, like there's no, there is no winning. There is no getting a foothold in your own narrative. If you lay out the most compelling argument for why you burnt the toast, and the answer is always yeah, but still, it's like you'll never move forward, and you'll never be able to gain any kind of foothold in your power structure. And I think that has to do with what you were just talking about, Rick, is the constant changing of the language policing, the constant changing of the language policing.
Never ends. But yeah, I think a lot of times we believe in the brainwashing. Like we believe in an illusion, and a lot of people, I hear these people like, "Hey, I'm awake," or "I've gone through this process," but I was like, "How do you know you're really awake?" Like just because you saw through a piece of an illusion, all of a sudden you're like blessed, like you've made your way, home run. I'm like, no, I don't think it's like that at all. I'm like, you just poked one hole in the illusion, but or you recognize it's everything. But I was like, uh, I think even I guess what I'm trying to say is like if you recognize the pieces of the illusion, a lot of times we recognize the curtain, but we don't get to see the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain still. And you're like, just because you recognize the curtain and you think you're awake, I was like, there's still a whole process there, and there's still a misdirection going on. Like they have uh, many layers. What does Shrek
Well,
say?
there's
Attack
always
an
another,
onion.
but there's always another curtain. Behind the curtain, there's
Yeah,
another curtain.
yeah. There you go. There
It's
you
just
go.
like Chuck Norris. Behind Chuck Norris's beard is another fist.
Yeah.
It just keeps going.
So
It's
so
just always
yeah.
a curtain.
So I was told something like um, uh, a crazy conspiracy, right? May or may not be true. I have no idea. But to go down the rabbit hole, like you've heard like Bill Gates and these guys say, "Hey, we want to reduce the population to millions instead of billions, or whatever that is," right? And they're like, "We want to reduce the population." And you're like, "Man, that's crazy. Why would they do that? Why would they do that?" And um, a guy explained to me. Um, he says we have the technology that we can get into your DNA right now and fix you where not that you'll live forever, but we can like double, triple your life expectancy right now. And he says they're going to release it at some point, but we have every second we have 3 people being born and 11 people dying. And the whole thing was, if we introduce this now, the population exponential growth would be so crazy they couldn't handle it. And he's like, that's the reason, it's like, in the meantime, we're so stuck on, hey, I'm awake. They want to reduce our population. You're stuck on one aspect, but we never see like the finish line where like, hey, we might be living a long, long time, and they're trying to figure out just how to manage it. But in the meantime, we're like, globalists are bad. They're trying to reduce our population and control us. And they're just like, well, maybe you might see us that way, but for the greater good, we're going to have people living forever based on technology and DNA, or Elon Musk has his whatever like whatever they got planned. And like, how do we manage? We got billions. How do we manage trillions of people on the planet if no one's dying? Now, I don't know if this is true or not, but that is kind of a concept of, we don't understand the end result. They're not going to tell us, but all we hear is little pieces of something, and we don't know. I mean, personally,
And that what you did. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'll go. I was just wrapping it up. Go ahead.
Well, you just explained part of the accelerationist philosophy. So, like I said, there's a left and a right version. The left version is reduce global, climate change. It's, wars and reduction is how we bring everything to an end. And then on the other side, there's a let it go, let so many people flourish that we just bring an end to everything. And so it's just like the way woke is now working its way. There's unfortunately a right conservative version of the wokeism that is starting to show itself. And that's the thing is that Bertrand Russell has a quote: uh, "Every movement goes too far." In the beginning of this whole the whole woke idea wasn't what it is now. It was basically the idea of wake up and see what's happening around you. And that's originally what it was meant to be. And at a certain point, it morphed into this. If you're not on the same page, and you don't believe in the rights of this person and that person, and this person power should be taken away from this person and given to this person, it became this whole other thing. Well, now there's another side of it that's starting to poke its way through the conservative circles, which things don't make any sense. And I try not to bring figureheads into this, but Tucker Carlson recently kind of went off the rails when he started scratching Churchill, and it's like, what? And this is the right's version of this kind of woke mind virus. The right is now starting to, the conservatives are starting to crash historical figures as if they were wrong or didn't do enough or they were the problem. It's like Churchill pretty much saved a big quadrant of the planet along with with us. And what people don't know about World War II, oh, I'm sure everyone say that. I mean, may not know about World War II is the U.S. we were isolation. We weren't going to get involved.
Yeah, we weren't.
And we were fine the way things were going. I mean, we weren't fine. There's footage of Nazi dirigible, which is like the Hindenburg, like an airship, a dirigible, doing tours here in the States. They would come from Germany, the big Nazi logo, and land somewhere in Jersey or Delaware, and tourists would get off and get back on, and they fly back across the ocean. Like we weren't really interested in the whole thing.
What's Nitzler? I might get blocked for that, right? He was like most influential person of the year on like Time magazine.
Yeah. And the thing is, Neville Chamberlain, who was the Prime Minister of the UK at the time, he was he was kind of the Jimmy Carter of the era. He thought he's like, oh yeah, no, if we're nice to Hitler, he'll just go away,
Yeah.
and he didn't, and he started taking over things, and then they're like, oh, uh, he, Cameron was wrong. What are we gonna do? And then Churchill comes in with his, tall boy Johnny Walker and his 16 cigars before breakfast, and he was the guy that was willing to do what it took to win. And so much so, and this is also why there's a big rift between the French and the English, even to this day, is he sunk the French fleet and basically blew up, destroyed, killed, unalived, whatever you want to call it, French
For-
French naval seamen, uh, in order for Hitler not to get the fleet. And this was their ally. In order for Hitler to not get the fleet, and he didn't want to do it. It was horrific, and so the French Navy was like, "No, we won't let them have the fleet. Don't worry." And he's like, "No, I can't trust it." He's like, "You got to turn it over to us." He's like, "No, don't worry." Well, oh, no, actually, it wasn't turn it over. He's like, "You need to sink your own ship." I'm like, "No, we're good. We're not going to let them have it." But the problem is, the French have a history of letting them have it. So he Churchill's like, "I can't do it. I can't let this. I can't. If he gets your fleet, it will turn the tide of the war." So he sunk his own allies' ships, and that's how far he's willing to go to save the Western world. And when FDR saw this, that was kind of his turning point, and it still didn't get him in the war, but it actually made him start thinking about it. Technically, it's Pearl Harbor that brought it all together, but when he sank the French fleet, that's when he realized, oh, this is serious. He 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 really believes that Hitler could win this. That's how bad he needs this to happen. So, and that's the thing is, and it's such a different time because Henry Ford was a huge anti-Semite, but he also was a big part of why we won the war because he retooled his assembly line of factories, stopped building cars, start building weapons and munitions and things. But that's the thing is, the only thing uh, Henry Ford disliked more than he loved America more than he disliked you, and that's the thing, and that's what how it used to be. It's like your love of your country would supersede your feelings about everything else, and these are things that we don't read about or we don't talk about anymore. But it's part of the history of why we're still around because it could have went the other way, and it could have went the other way in a big way.
yeah.
But
We're
Churchill and FDR turned it.
we're always taught to like study history so it doesn't repeat itself. But right now, there's a lot of and some people know this stuff, but there's a lot of information right coming out about people's heroes. You got Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, and you know Boston Tea Party. Like none of the stories are accurate.
No.
And you could say, "Oh, Christopher Columbus." Like none of the stories are accurate. Like and it's crazy. And you're like, "Well, how am I supposed to even study history?" Because it's the winner's story. To even like know what not to repeat.
Yeah.
We're just taught a narrative, and we're like we buy it hook, line, and sinker. And
I'm gonna hold that thought for just a second as we approach the noon hour. We still got plenty of time. Don't worry. But please like, share, subscribe. Also, if you're thinking about lunch right now and you're listening, Rick's has a special trip basket for $13.99, or you can get some clam chowder, a bowl of clam chowder for $4.50, or get it in a bread bowl for $8. So come on down to Rick's for a hearty lunch, get some of that shrimp,
mm,
and get yourself filled. Again, we're on all platforms. Like, share, subscribe. Like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.
yeah, a lot of our like history and people like it's all a lie. And I think right now it's like our society's feeling it more than others. Some people knew it, some people didn't, but like generally it's all coming out. And people are not going to know what to do or believe. It's like it's crazy right now, and I'm sure it fits somebody's.
People, people want they want their heroes to be flawless, and nobody's flawless. Like Churchill was drunk the whole all World War II. He was drunk, but you would have to be drunk in order to do the things to 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 make the decisions that kill your allies and to save your people. Like you would have to be constantly drinking Johnny Walker and smoking cigars in order to get through. I mean,
Yeah,
like even Gandhi's got
yeah.
some
He's got
dirt.
some dirt too.
Like for example, Christopher Hitchens wrote a book about Mother Teresa. It's actually called The Missionary Physician, and he notoriously or infamously, because I guess not many people know, he's a horrible person. He all these all these hospitals in Calcutta, he had millions and millions of dollars that he had raised because he's Mother Teresa. Everybody's spending their money. He could have stopped the pain and the suffering of all these people in her hospitals and all her organizations in Calcutta and all over India and all over the world. The reason she didn't is because her belief was pain and suffering brought you closer to God. So he intentionally let the people suffer because he thought he was doing the Lord's work by doing that. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying.
Refinement.
There is nobody, no hero, no idea. There's collateral damage and shrapnel with everything. Like there's just no perfect way through. It just doesn't. It just does. Like okay, another example: the early days of communism, when Stalin basically let millions of Russians starve, was from an ideology from one of his scientists. One of his scientists believed in Lamarckian evolution as opposed to Darwinian evolution. He believed that if we plant plants closer together, they will get more crops. They won't compete for resources, nutrients in the soil, whatever. He believed all these things. His basically idea was, which is Lamarckian as opposed to Darwinian. So if you cut a cat's tail off and you mate that cat, then you'll get cats without tails. But that's not how it works.
Yeah.
But this is the thing. He was so far in the other direction, but because of pride of Stalin wanting communism to be right, he let this guy run with these ideas, and because his ideas were wrong, it decimated acres and acres of crops and therefore starved his people to death. But it was because he wanted to be right so much. It was an ego thing.
Yeah.
I mean, history is riddled with these types of things that good or bad. Everything's gray. It's all gray area.
Yeah.
Complete gray area. All our leaders, all the leaders' decisions, the good ones, the bad ones. I mean, there's two sides to the Hiroshima argument. Is it that ended the war and saved hundreds of thousands of lives, but it also decimated two cities and destroyed the lives of hundreds of thousands of people in Japan. But it also gave birth to a Japan that took everybody's lunch money in the 80s with VCRs and technology. And so it kind of depends on who you ask at the time.
Yeah.
Same with the Korean conflict. The younger generation in Korea believed that North Korea and South Korea should be reunited because in their minds, oh, they're us. They speak the same language. We're the same people. Why can't we just be together? But the older generation who went through the Korean conflict, when North Korea pushed past all their lines in the sand and what they did to South Koreans was horrible. What they did to the women, what they did to, and the older generation remember that. The grandmothers there, they love America and Americans because that's who stopped the incursion and stopped them from being killed sexually assaulted and all the things you can't say. So you have two different ideas, and it's generational, but it's not. It's never black and white. Ever.
Yeah. Yeah, it does make it tough to navigate, I guess, life, because you can create meaning out of any of this, whichever way that you want. How do you move forward? I mean, I remember having Japanese foreign exchange students in the house growing up, and my dad,
I remember you telling me this.
my dad
Yeah.
was like, "It's so weird. Like they were the enemy, and now they're in my house." And I kind of realized, go, wow, he's got a little struggle going on that,
Yeah.
like, is he cool with it? Or some days he is, some day he's not, or just, just something he's like, wow, that's weird. We're buddies now. And they had all sorts of nicknames for him. Um, well, just wrapping things up, I've been trying to talk about a little prepper stuff here and there. And I know you like knives. What?
Oh, love them. Actually, I got. Actually, this is probably I can't do it. Can I throw a knife? Or will I get a quick throw?
I don't care at this point.
Okay, well, I got this in my pocket right now. It's a.
Show it again.
Show it
It's a.
again. We zoomed
It's a.
you in.
It's a Boker. It's
Yeah.
a Boker automatic.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what
I
is?
usually have 2 or 3 knives on me.
Yeah. Eric will carve you up. You'll be dinner in no time. Do you have I guess what, in terms of, I don't know, prepping, just everyday preparedness, is there a particular like knife style that you recommend, or are you just like a knife's a knife? Just have something.
No, I think for EDC everyday carry, I think a good aspirated uh, drop point blade is good for everyday carry. Like this one here is, I think, it's aspirated, and that's a drop point.
On my carrier
Um,
vest, I have
I,
the Gerber Strong Arm. It's a full tang.
so that's actually, that's a great knife. Yeah, that's a great knife. For years, I've never, because I was more of a Benchmade
Benchmade
guy,
is good.
but I've recently got into Spyderco, and I kind of like some of the Spyderco designs, and they're good for. I have 3 or 4 of them, but I haven't on me. But I think the reason why everybody likes them so much for EDC is because as simple as it is, that Spyderco holes on it gives you a lot of options for deploying it. So I think that for one-hand deployment is unless we have an automatic knife, it's a really good. Any of their knives are really good for EDC because obviously you can you can flick it, you can use your thumb, but also if you need one hand, you hold the hole and flick it out. I mean, there's a lot of ways to deploy the knife, which I think is good.
And they tend to have
But
like a shorter blade, right? Spyderco, aren't they a shorter blade, little goofier looking blade?
usually I mean, it depends. They have some larger knives too, but it depends. But yeah, usually what you'll see with them, it's a shorter blade. And also too, I still like Cold Steel, even though when Cold Steel started, most of the stuff was made in Japan. It was really high quality. They have to make money, so they still have the Japan line, but also they farm some out to China. But they're still good knives, and I have a bunch of them from back in the day. So yeah, any of your Cold Steels, Benchmade obviously, but they're also very expensive. I mean, a good Benchmade
FYI,
starting at like $250.
I got a lot of good response. Eric Klein or Casey Klein, for example, said that he said, "Dude, I love this guy." So you're definitely
Thank
a
you.
hit today.
Yeah, Eric will no longer be with us after this broadcast. He will not be coming back. I apologize.
I can be on TikTok with him for very long.
Yeah, he offends TikTok police and everything.
Is that the 4th time we got kicked off of TikTok?
Oh, you always do.
Yeah.
I think one time we said midgets too many times and they kicked us off. I'm like,
that might be it.
Yeah.
We might get kicked off of Facebook. Or good thing we're wrapping up. They might kick us off the other two.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was taught. There is one called a Yukonto by the CRKT that I like, and
I like that too. I like that too.
It is a smaller handle. You got to put your little pinky behind it, but I was taught that is good for sensory unaliving for throat stuff because it's
Mm.
skinny. It goes in, and the guy who was teaching us, he's like, it's been tested, 113 times. 20 of them were deer. And so he's like, this is the best thing. And, you could put it on some of your gear and so forth. And so I do like that skinny little one, but it's, you only use it. You don't use it for opening boxes and that. You just leave it alone for that moment. It's not like a utility knife type deal, but it is a little skinny little sucker
If
that
you're looking for a budget knife too, because you can spend a lot of money on a good knife. If you're looking for a good budget knife, look at the True brand. They have come out. They're made by ACG. Their products are so amazing, not just with knives, but all kinds of trinkets you can put on your keychain and other things. Like I carry around a little tweezers that has a little knife and a screwdriver on it. I don't know if you can see it on there.
man.
It's right on my keychain. Comes in handy. Like I don't know how many times I've used a screwdriver for just small little projects I have to do, and the tweezers to like open a box or whatever. Never had to pull a sliver out with them yet, but they're still high quality. True makes a really good low budget knife, but there's a lot of great knives in the Gerber world, low budget or high end. Um, I definitely like to. I'm going to start actually forging here soon.
Tactical tweezers is what he just showed
Tactical
us.
Oh, that's
tweezers.
cool.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I got to go to the bathroom sometime, right?
Yeah,
There's a
I need one of those too for the same reason. How much are they?
$20.
not not to not to come off too paranoid, but also from my former work, I tend to also carry either a steel barrel pen, or
Yes.
I have this thing that I've been carrying for a while that I could use a lot. It's a Japanese pencil that's metal.
Oh wow.
It's actually called a Metzel, and it has a tip. The tip's supposed to write for like 20 miles. It's some type of hard tungsten or something, but it writes like a pencil. But the whole pencil is metal, and it will go through things. But it's also like I use it to write, so it's not like a tactical pen where it looks like the handle of a lightsaber with a pen.
But you can take it on
It's
a
an
plane.
actual usable. Yeah, it's a usable pencil, but it's also a metal pencil, and I keep that with me in my journal and all my EDC stuff. So it's usually have that, or like a zebra steel barrel pen, which is easy to get there at Costco, but it's a pretty durable pen. But I mean, you can have a decent EDC knife, but also a sturdy pen or pencil nearby. Um, at least for me, that's my rule of thumb. To have either one of them at hand somewhere. And also too, I occasionally, depending on where I'm at, I'll wear a necklace, a neck knife.
You gave me
When I
one.
was working, I used to work. Yeah, I gave you one a long time ago.
Yeah,
It
they're pretty
was a
sweet.
good one,
A
the
couple
carbon
of
steel
those.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, those can come in handy. Also, been playing around lately with EDC fixed blades, like small fixed blades that you can carry in the waistband, because they're the faster you can get with your folding knife or your balisong or whatever gravity knife, nothing's faster than a fixed.
Mhm.
You just can't beat the speed of just pulling a knife out of a tube. So,
SOG makes some really good fixed blade knives.
Yeah. Is there a
yeah, and
particular
I've been working on.
length
Okay.
of blade that you
Oh yeah, 4 inches. I'm guessing.
recommend?
Well, actually, funny enough, back to your other point, or with what you were saying about that other knife, they've come out with a couple of people have come out with like a tactical paring knife, like a kitchen paring knife,
I've seen those. Yeah.
but a tactical one, and that size. Since I've been playing one, that paring knife size is actually a pretty good size
Is that
for
3.5? What's a pair?
kind of somewhere around there. Yeah, and that style, this style and the size actually is a pretty good carry for every day if you're training your waistband or whatever. And
Yeah.
it's these new tactical paring knives. They're actually really because I play with them. I have a bayonet dummy that I train with. You probably remember it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a Vietnam era bayonet dummy that the special forces friends gave me. Um, and I use that to kind of play with. And yeah, that this new style of kind of tactical paring knife, I like it a lot.
Yeah. I think every time I've picked up a blade that's like, you're like, oh, that'd be cool. And you got, I never did the Rambo knife thing, but you get these bigger blades and they're big and they're heavy. And you're like, I got to take this thing with me. I recommend a smaller size. Size matters. Go small.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right. Well, Eric, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate
It was my
yeah,
pleasure.
you have a similar take as I do, I think, on things, but yeah, you explained it in a total different like viewpoint, which I think is cool because I was like, oh, you're using words I don't use or know much about. So I appreciate that. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you. And just since I've gotten you kicked off of every platform, everything we talked about was for informational purposes. I don't believe any of it. It's just ideas
I
that
make
are
movies. This
floated.
is all the next
Yeah,
movie
I
coming
guess.
out is a
Yeah,
brainstorm.
exactly. I'm a amateur chef, and I don't know anything about what we're talking about.
Yeah, me too. I am a chef too. I own a restaurant, and so maybe sometime you come down and cook with us, Eric. So,
Cannot wait. Cannot wait.
all right, brother. Thanks for joining us. This is the Rick Sickens Show.
Thank you.
Signing out, folks.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.